All right, today on Gun Talk Hunt, we're talking with GP Searle of KOR Technik, used to be KOR Cases. You're going to want to hear about his antelope hunt and traveling with firearms, all right here, right now.
Hey, I'm KJ, dedicated lifelong hunter here. If you got an interest in all things hunting, you're in the right spot. Whether chasing quail across the plains of Oklahoma or in pursuit of elk in the backcountry of British Columbia, you'll always find me on the hunt.
All right, welcome all you Gun Talk hunters. This is another episode of Gun Talk Hunt. I'm your host, KJ, and today we are brought to you by Vortex, Range Ready Studios, and Benelli. Thank you to them. Okay, so this is the season of travel, especially for me. I'm out on the road. We are getting stuff done, but you have to protect your firearms. If you arrive and your gun is off and you don't have the ability to really effectively get that gun dialed in to your location, you've got to start hunting right away. That next shot could ruin your trip. And getting there is half the battle, but getting your firearms there safely is the most important battle. And today with us, we got GP Searle of KOR Cases. Welcome back, GP. How you doing, man?
Good, KJ. Good to be back. Good to see you.
It's good to see you. Man, I hate to say it, but I had to turn down a hunt, and I don't often do that. But GP calls me up and he says, "Hey, really want to get you out. We're going to go out antelope hunting. You're going to have a great time." And man, I just couldn't do it. It was this last, wasn't it? No, it was 2 weekends ago. I believe it was 2 weekends ago. Because I was at the Smith & Wesson grand opening, which was a great event. Loved it. I'm not going to lie. Probably would have been rather been hunting with you, man. How was it?
It was great. I mean, this hunt though this year was like a perfect disaster of like I had everybody lined up. We had the whole crew going, like my godbrother coming. I had Christy Titus joined us. The guys from the Mountain Project came. And then my godbrother's like, I can't make it. I got some family stuff going on. And I was 2 weeks into it. And I was like, all right, found someone for that tag. Then a buddy of mine who was coming on the hunt 48 hours before was like 48 hours. I called you like a week before.
Right.
He was on a bull hunt, archery hunt in Colorado and got a parasite and was like, I can't do it. I've lost 6 pounds in a day. Like,
oh,
you gotta.
What kind of parasite was it? Because I'm in need of some weight loss right now.
I'm not sure, but he's just on the mend. He was like, I have no energy.
Kidding.
I'm so sorry. And so I called you, and when you couldn't make it, we ended up one of Chase Christopher's buddy was coming from New Zealand and he hadn't hunted in 2 years plus. So I was like, yeah, dude. He was just coming to the States and I was like, you're taking the tag, and he was blown away. Like first antelope ever, first North American big game.
I don't mind missing for that because that couldn't have happened to like someone like that. Like that's the ideal use for a tag like that. That you're like, it's got to get used. And it might as well be someone who's never taken one before.
Well, and this was the first year we chased antelope in New Mexico in October. And the thing we really noticed right off the bat is they were spread out more, and we didn't have to battle the thermals in the middle of the day. Like we could glass all day, get, there's still wind. I mean, it's, you get a good 20, 30 mile an hour crosswind, you're put it 2 animals ahead of them. But we had a great trip, good people. I mean, everybody got to take home a solid antelope and take all the meat, and it was a great time.
So I've hunted them in October. Man, I haven't hunted them in October all that much. What are they doing typically in New Mexico in October? They're kind of at the tail end of their rut, aren't they?
They were they were still in the rut. They were chasing off does, and
no kidding.
You had some does like bunched up, but we saw one buck that we ended up taking, but he had a doe pinned in a corner of a fence in a pasture. And then this younger one started to come in and we watched him run his tail out of there.
No kidding.
Said, nope, she's mine.
Little did
So
he
it was,
know he was backing himself into a corner too. Like, what
yes.
an idiot. Jeez.
I mean, and it was nice because they were spread out more on the ranch we were hunting, and so you could really kind of see, okay, they're in the cemetery pasture, and these are by Lee's house, and
Hmm.
we kind of had pinpointed where they were roaming and where they were staying the day before, so we had a good sense of where they were, and they weren't moving far because they were still rutting.
Yeah.
Whereas when we've hunted them typically in August, all the bucks are bunched up and the does are bunched up, and you can't get close. You can't close that distance because you got so many eyes on you.
Yeah.
Um, so we were able to, funny enough, chasing them they videoed their hunt, and they shot a buck. There were two bucks on a doe, and they shot the one buck and the other one ran off, and then they called, and the other buck came running back in to 250 yards, and they doubled.
No
Like,
kidding.
yeah,
That's
one,
cool.
two. And they actually were fighting before they harvested them. So you see these
Really?
two bucks going at it, and then Chris and the guy Joe, who hadn't tagged a North American animal before,
Uh-huh.
they took those two that were fighting.
No kid. Dude, that's a cool story because I mean, there's not many times that you get to like harvest both of them. Typically, you're either like, okay, we've got a shot at one of them. But man, that is cool.
Yeah,
That's
and his
awesome.
like the second one, like his his tips were all like frayed and busted off from
Yeah.
fighting, and it was like Chase was like, "Well, it's too cool of an opportunity not to take. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, we could go find something bigger, but like to be able to film this and tell the story of like
Yeah.
mine was fighting his, and like
Whose
you
was
know,
winning? That's what we need to know. They both lost in
yeah,
the end.
they did. Well,
They-
not really. We won because
right.
I mean that's supper for a couple months.
Oh yeah. Yeah, a couple months will get you. But I've noticed that in like you know, when you typically when you like do a European mount on an antelope or something, like you can those will detach, the basically it's like a sheath um that'll detach and it's a hard bone underneath. Um, but like I've had a lot of them where it was frayed and busted off and they don't to my knowledge, they don't I think they do shed those. Do they? I don't know if they shed them.
Yeah, they shed
The
the
base, the
horn
yeah,
is basically hair follicles that grow up, and then they shed them, and that nub, and then the hair just starts growing.
right,
So one of the things we were interested in this year, being in October versus August, is do the horns continue to grow? Because it's
right.
just hair growing up and turning into that ketamine. Um,
Yeah,
I think that's what it's called. Or do they just stop? And sure enough, on these, we saw that there was fresh hair follicles still coming out of the
no
base of the
kidding.
horn. So I think they just keep growing, and then they shed them, and then they build
Just
back up from the
build
nub.
back up. That's
They're just
interesting.
they're cool animals, man.
They are. They're wild. I mean, just to watch them, and watch them during the rut is fascinating because they move. Like there's not an antelope out there that's not on the move. Like if you see a single buck out there, like he's moving. Like he's moving to the next herd, or he's trying to cut away his own ladies. And it's fascinating to see their mannerisms too.
Well, and they're just so fast. I mean, you think of how much ground they cover mile wise. Like if you spook one at a couple hundred yards, he's 2 miles before you get up and get your
Yeah.
pack on. I
Oh
mean,
yeah. It's
say
it's
goodbye.
it's unbelievable. So, GP, you'll appreciate this because I had a listener who actually took me up, and this goes for everybody. Like I don't hold anything back. I give out my personal like my email that I check every day, kj@guntalk.com, and I tell people like, hey, if you want to hear a topic on this show, or you want any advice, or you want to bounce ideas off of, like I'm always available. Well, guy took me up on it and he drew out for a unit that I'm very familiar with in Wyoming. Goes up there with his son and they got it done. They got two phenomenal goats. It's awesome. The story was great. I talked to him after the fact. I'd like to get him on here to talk about his hunt, but but he was talking about like, so he killed one of his goats in like my favorite spot. Like it's one of those spots, like a lot of people look at it and they go, well, it's not accessible. It's public, but it's not accessible. But I found a way. I found a secret entrance to this place that, like, even the game warden who got, we someone called the game warden on us for being on this property. Like it's that kind of story. Like he sits there and I go, this is how we entered. These are the rules that I know unless I've missed something. And this is how we got onto the property. He looks at it and he goes, hold on a second. Walk me through that again, how you got there.
Yep.
And I go, well, this is how we did it. And he goes, huh. Yeah, you guys did it right. You guys are 100% in the right. So happy hunting. And the property is like perfect, but not a lot of people know about it. So if you do reach out, I'll let you know, but I'm not going to let you know on the air. You have to actually contact me. But it's just neat that was their first Western hunting experience, and they were able to have success and get it done on antelope because they're such cool creatures. I mean, they're plentiful. They're like rats out there.
Well, I think that too is part of our community, right? Like the father son tagging out and Joe tagging animal. It's like
Yeah.
we want to support, as hunters and conservationists, we want to support each other. And it's not, we don't post it as general knowledge on the air, but like
Right.
someone reaches out to me, it's like, hey, where were you? I'll tell them.
Yeah.
But, and like how things go down and like, good glassing spots and whatnot. But I love hearing those stories too, because it's like that father and son will have that memory for the rest of their lives.
Yeah. Well, and they'll help other people because look, all of us now. GP, he's a young dude, but like I'm not like my knowledge is like if I don't share it, it ends with me. Like, and I want to grow our sport. I don't want to limit our access and limit our spaces. Like, there's plenty of space out there for you. Like, if you don't like the way your unit's shaping up, man, move to another unit. Like, that's fine. Like, learn something new. And that's kind of where I'm at now is I'm like, okay, I've done the antelope thing out in Wyoming for so many years. I think I did it for like 9 years straight or something like that. And it was awesome. Learned a ton about the property. But now there's so many other opportunities out there. And that's where we get into traveling. How do you travel with guns? Like, and this is one of the big reasons why we have GP on the show. And we're going to get to that right after this break. All right, for all you long range hunters, your long range shooters, Vortex has a new one. It's called the Impact 4000 Ballistic Rail Mounted Laser Rangefinder. All right. If you're not familiar with these type of units, this mounts to your scope or the side of your rifle, and it basically is a readout of all your data. All your ballistic data is housed in this little unit. But it is, man, I'll tell you what. So I looked at this thing, and I thought, why would you want that on your rifle? It makes it heavier. But look, if you're doing PRS game or anything like that, at unknown distances, you're going to want something to accurately measure your distance. And oh, by the way, it computes everything and gives you a readout on all your dope. So you have a dope card and a laser rangefinder all in one. That's pretty stinking cool. 2, okay, you've got a rangefinder. And we've all been there, and we're using that rangefinder, and we're trying to find that range, and we click it and goes, well, that doesn't seem right. And then you click in it again, and well, that doesn't seem okay. That might be right. You're wobbling all over the frickin' place. Well, this thing, the Impact 4000, is mounted on your stinking gun. It's mounted on your like optic, so it's not moving. So you're gonna get accurate readouts. Anyway. I think it's really cool. I think you guys should give it a look. Go check out the Vortex Impact 4000 Ballistic Rail Mounted Laser Rangefinder at vortex.com. RangeReadyStudios.com. You know what? If you don't want to suck at shooting, take a class. That's the easiest thing to do. that's what I've been doing. I will have taken, I think at the time of this recording, I will have taken 4 classes, um, a rifle class and 3 pistol classes. And I can tell you this much, I suck a lot less. Chris Sereno does a fantastic job of educating you on why and how to shoot better. But I think the most important thing is the why. Why am I doing the mistakes I'm doing? Why am I consistently shooting left? Okay, so I need to increase the pressure on my left hand. And I need to remember 3 key things: grip, sights, trigger. What are you seeing and what are you feeling? All right, those are key components of shooting better. What do you see? What do you feel? Is that shot happening the same every time or something a little bit different? He shares all of this. We're adding new classes weekly. I mean, we're adding so many new classes. Visit rangereadystudios.com. And Benelli. Benelli. Oh, Benelli. How I love the Benelli. I mean, you start looking at the firearms they make, whether it's the M2 or the Vinci or the Super Black Eagle 3, their entire lineup is filled with, inertia driven guns, and they've got bolt guns. They all operate at a very high level. Um, man, I love my Benelli Vinci, and I'm going to share a little quick story for you on the durability and the power of them. So it's an inertia driven gun, and the Vinci, while not their new Super Black Eagle 3, it's still a trusted platform for Benelli. And one morning we're sitting out there and it's really cold, and we wanted to hunt the other side of the lake. We didn't have a boat, and it was, I want to say it was 10 degrees out, and it had snowed a couple days before, and it had sleeted, and it had frozen the lake partially over. And so this is kind of a story about how tough these Benellis are. So instead of, breaking ice or trying to cross that channel to get to the other side where the ducks hunt so much better, which it wasn't, by the way. And I don't recommend this because we did turn around. But I sat there for an hour and a half and broke ice with my Benelli Vinci. I broke the ice. I would literally take a step in the little channel that we were in, and I would break the ice around me, drag decoys through, take another step, break the ice. And this was 1.5 inch thick ice. I mean, it was fairly thick for Oklahoma, and just kept breaking and breaking and breaking. And my buddy, of course, he has a Benelli Vinci too, because, when you hunt together so much, you get trusted. That's what you want. You want what your buddy uses all the time. So we had Vincis. That morning, we whacked and stacked ducks, got our limit, got out of there. We couldn't make it all across the pass, but we looked at it as the sun came up. We had broken through about 200 yards of ice trying to get across this channel, and that Benelli Vinci refused to quit. And I guarantee you, if you get a Benelli, it will refuse to quit. These guns are tough, they're beautiful, and they operate. So go check out BenelliUSA.com. All right, we're back with GP Searle of KOR Cases. As the name implies, it's a case. Somewhat a case. Okay. They've got a lot going on. GP, give me a rundown of the process you went through, because I know we went through this. If you guys want to listen to the previous post or podcast that I did with GP, he gives a lot of the background, but this, I'm going to have him give an overarching view of KOR Cases and how it was developed and what it is. And we're going to talk about traveling with firearms and then what's new from KOR. So GP, I'm going to kind of take a step back and let you take it from there.
Yeah, thanks, KJ. So we switched from KOR Cases to KOR Technik, just because we have more technical aspects of the system now, and we're more about the protection system than the hard shell it comes in. So years ago, we were moving. My wife's like, "Why do you have so many gun cases?" I'm like, "Well, because this is for that, and that's for that." Like, they're literally custom cut foam.
Yeah.
And so through iterations, we basically came up with a beanbag that you nestle your objects in, And then as you pull the air out, you're basically vacuum sealing your optics, cargo, assets, firearm, what have you, into place. So there's no lateral or vertical movement during transit. The beauty of that is that the system absorbs all the impact and vibration during transit. So it's not transferred to the cargo. So your rifle scope, for example, when you get to your destination, that scope will be dialed and zeroed and ready to deploy.
Yeah.
We actually had 2 recent long travels with it. We had an editor go to Namibia for a plains game hunt, took 2 rifles, loved it. Steve Eklund with Next Level Hunter, he took it from Canada to New Zealand for red stag, no issues. I have a customer actually today who messaged me and said, I'm going to Tajikistan. So excited to have my, weapons be secure and stay in place.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's one of those things that you take for granted your care of your firearm until you get there and realize it's knocked off or something, because those are some of the worst starting hunts. When a hunt doesn't start out right, you just know it's going to be a grind, and man, it's peace of mind for sure.
well, and two, it's when I've found, like, in my earlier years, when you miss that first shot, it does something to you mentally that, what's wrong? Is it me? Is it the optic? Am I not stable enough? Do I get the shakes?
Yeah.
And then you miss the second shot. And then, and then you're not
Oh,
making
trust me. If you are a frequent listener of this podcast, you have heard the first time I went antelope hunting in Wyoming and how that turned out. The first miss turned into a lot. Like, it was a whole thing. So yeah. Ugh,
and
you'll
and
be killed.
that's and you want to trust that when you're traveling, whether it's via air or driving in your truck or whatever, all that vibration and impact isn't getting transferred to your systems, and you're putting a lot of money into that case when you think about it. I mean, you spend
Hold on a
$1,000
second.
plus on an optic.
GP, there's probably wives listening to this. So
Okay, sorry. Well, all my hunts
keep
cost
prices
$500.
down. Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
There you go.
So you got your $500 rifle, you got your $500 scope, and a $500 pair of binoculars.
That adds up.
What it does, and we take pride in our gear. We take care of it. I mean, I still have my first pair of binoculars to hand down to my son when I take him hunting. They're little 10-power binoculars, but it's like, I've had those for 20 years. Like, there's a little bit of history there and nostalgia, and VRS just protects those things and keeps contaminants away. I mean, it doesn't absorb the oil, the solvent, the moisture that foam does. So if you're cleaning your rifle and you spill solvent or put a freshly oiled shotgun barrel in foam, that foam is absorbing that oil. VRS doesn't have that problem, and we protect against that, and we strive to make it where this is something like binoculars that I'm passing on to my son that you can have for years to come. I mean, it's not a one and done solution. It's, every hunt, every season, this is the one case I have. This is the one VRS panel I need, and I'm good to go. Regardless of where I'm going or how I'm getting there, this is how I'm protecting my assets.
Yeah. And when I saw this at SHOT Show a couple years ago, I was just like, holy crap. Like, it just makes so much more sense. But so instead of so we all have multiple guns, but if we're talking to our wives or our special other persons, whatever it is, we only have one gun. But let's just say we all have multiple guns. That's why I'm always hesitant with the pluck foam is, okay, I'm not going to pluck the foam out because I know I'm going to have to carry another gun in here. Might be longer, might be shorter, whatever. There's not one size fits all pluck foam. There's just not. You just don't pluck the foam out. And then eventually it's going to start chipping out, you're going to start missing pieces because, you know, we're not the safest around our pluck foam because we just throw our rifle in there, throw our binos, throw our spotting scopes, and we just grab it out and it catches and it rips a piece out here, rips a piece out there. And then we're left with just a holy case. Works well in the, you know, for all us church going folks because it's holy, but in the grand scheme of things, not what you want to see.
No, and that's where VRS came from, was a solution where you literally are pushing air in and pulling air out in under 2 minutes and you're good to go.
Right.
You know, it just, you don't have the deterioration. You're not creating waste that ends up in a landfill. You're not cross-contaminating things.
Yeah.
And
so GP, said something that actually, like, I didn't even think about it. Is styrofoam sucking the oil out of your firearms and stuff? So I'm sitting here thinking about, like, all the times I'm like, why is my gun dry? You know, when you get it someplace and it's like, I lubed it before I went and it's perfect. And then you get there and it's kind of, it's soaking up that oil. I never had thought about that with foam cases.
yeah, because that texture, open cell or closed cell, it's still going to transfer oil between it. And even if you, like, especially when you pluck it, you set it in, that friction against the side is going to rub that stuff off.
Dude, never thought of that. Never thought of that. So what's the VRS system? What's the outer material on that?
So it's a TPU, which is basically the same material used for like rigid hull inflatable boats, life-saving devices.
Okay.
So, you know, you think of, you know, the rigid hull boat, for example, like that people use and special operations use. You know, you've got a hard hull and then 2 inner tubes basically running down the side. I mean, it just doesn't hold moisture, it doesn't hold solvent. I mean, oil will stain it, but it just wipes right out. And like with moisture, you just wipe it out, stick it in the sun, and it's dry. I mean, it's not going to retain that inside the case. And that's another thing is, like, you know, you go on a duck hunt or something and you got a long flight home and that case has been soaking up all the water that was on your case. You're going to get home and you're going to have rust spots. You know, if you don't take it out right away, clean it.
I've been there.
Most of the time when we come home from hunts or travel, you know, it's the priority isn't our stuff, it's our spouse or kids.
Yeah.
Getting back into family mode versus hunting mode, and that stuff waits a couple days.
Ooh. Man, you're spitting a lot of truth now. Because I've put myself through that, going back in and going, what happened to my Vinci? Why is there rust spots on my Vinci? Like, just sitting there going, oh, that's why.
Yeah. And it, you know, from this antelope hunt, I drove home and we had a, you know, truck bed full of meat, and, you know,
that's where your focus has to go.
Came home late Saturday and kind of put stuff away, but, you know, so come Sunday morning, my 2 boys were awake at 5 a.m. saying, "Dad, we missed you," you know?
Yeah.
And there's where the focus goes, and you got to pivot.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, you don't want to waste the time packing to find, you know, what am I taking, or where's this foam insert for this case? And, you know, now you can just totally reinvent the wheel.
Yeah, it's almost like you're taking a peek inside my garage, honestly. Like, it's like you're like going like, oh yeah, I bet he has foam stacked up and it's for different guns and he has for different cases. And okay, if I'm not packing as much stuff, I'm going to go ahead and add another layer of foam so everything's real tight. And then I've got to take foam out if I'm packing a lot of stuff. Like, it's a wandering like mess in my garage when it comes to like cases. And so what do you guys have coming out new?
So new, what we've got coming out in 2024, which you'll see it shot. We worked with a case company called Zargus, which makes awesome aluminum hard side cases. We developed VRS for three of their existing SKUs.
Okay.
So one's a stackable system, so you get 4 layers of VRS for mainly in our arena for like your binoculars, your telephoto lenses, your spot and scopes.
Yeah.
Case works great for that. Then we took their AR case, which had foam in it, and sure enough, that AR case, which fit 1 AR, now holds 3 ARs plus
No
mags.
kidding.
Or you can use it as a bow case.
Uh-huh.
And then we have a long gun. They have a long gun case that we're now able to put 2 rifles with suppressors in, plus all your accessories, your ammo,
Yeah.
your Kestrel, so that's actually a double panel with a single panel on top. So what we've done is developed a system where you can layer it to maximize the internal volume of a case, rather than just saying, okay, I've got to have a bottom layer of foam, then my pluck foam, then my top foam. Well,
Yep.
really, you're getting 1/3 of the usable space on the inside of that case.
Okay.
Whereas we're maximizing that to be 2x the loadout at least, if not more.
Dude, that's cool. And that's
even with
Zargus, who you're working with. Zargus?
Yeah,
Okay.
ZargusUSA.com. So
Okay.
ZARGES. They're a German case company.
Mhm.
They've been around for a long time. 90th anniversary this year.
Wow.
They've got a ton of pads and they make a great product. And we were just really grateful for the opportunity. They actually saw our technology at the Safari Club show last year and said,
Oh, yeah.
hey, we want to do something with this. And we've been working with them through the summer and, got to the point where we just launched it at the AUSA show for the Army.
Dude, that's cool.
So
it's
a great partnership and they're great people. And we just wanted to give them something different.
Yeah.
They've got a case that lasts a lifetime. We wanted to give them the insights that last a lifetime.
You have actually a really cool demonstration if you like, because and if you're listening to this, I'm sorry you're not going to see the demonstration. I'll try to describe it as best I can, but you've got it right there, and this is something that you guys may be coming out with, right?
Yeah, so this is kind of an idea for a double panel. This isn't it per se, but this is a panel I pull a vacuum on. The actual prototype or first article is being photographed today. That's why I don't have it.
Okay.
But there is a fragile object in here, and I'll stand up.
So he's standing at about 6.
We'll drop it from about
up.
6.5 feet.
Yeah. So he drops it. I think I know what's in there, but I'm not 100% sure. So he has dropped it, and
then inside, since I'm a sober man, I took one of our wedding crystal champagne flutes, which I have no need for.
You're taking your life in your own hands there. So he has a champagne flute in there, and he's just dropping it over and over. And man, your wife is a very good woman, because there's no way my wife would.
She doesn't know.
Oh, she doesn't know. Well, she's definitely not going to know, because she probably doesn't listen to Gun Talk Hunt.
But what that does is it demonstrates, like we've played with it. We got a video on our Instagram of a fluorescent tube in there. Is that all the impact and vibration, from a shock impact of being dropped or thrown or something hitting the object? Like even if I punch this, you hear the impact, but my handprint is in the panel, but that crystal glass is still perfectly still.
Dude, you're crazy. I would have used an egg or something. Jeez.
But it conveys the idea and the education part of that. We absorb impact and vibration better than your traditional foam. Yeah. Like if I put that glass in 2 sheets of foam and punched it, I got a mess to clean up and a wife to answer to.
No one wants that. No one.
No,
man,
no,
that's cool. I love it. I mean, I've loved it since I saw it at SHOT Show, and I think the system works great. And so last time, I want to make sure everybody knows, like, it's KOR Technik. So KORTECHNIK.com. So it used to be KOR Cases, it's now KOR Technik. So KORTechnik.com. Like, seriously, do yourself a favor. If you travel to hunt, I mean, I think this is the point of this. It has multiple uses, I mean, whether you're carrying camera equipment or anything else, it has multiple uses. This is something that once you seal up once, it is reusable. You let the air out, or you put air back in, air back in it, and then you can form it to whatever you want. Like, whatever you want in whatever configuration you want. And I think that's awesome.
That's the beauty of it. And the time it takes to mold and customize is under 5 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, compare that to your frustration of, taking your rifle or camera gear, what have you, Sharpie on foam, then go find a hot knife or your Havalon or sewing scissors to cut it. And you're going to mess it up, because I always mess it up.
Yeah.
And then you're like, I literally just paid $120 for this set of foam, and I'm literally cutting out money that I just spent and throwing it in the garbage.
Yeah. It's
like,
really
that's the other thing. You're going to end up with like maybe 60% of what you paid for in the end.
Yeah. And then that's what that foam is from then on. Like, that's what it is forever. Like, there's no getting that back. And what I love about the KOR Technik and the VRS system is the reusability of it, and configure it to whatever you want, whatever gun you want, because we all only have one gun, right?
And they all cost $500.
All of our guns and all of our accessories
or below.
Yes. But, well, GP, man, I really appreciate you coming on.
Thanks, KJ, for having me. It's always good to see you, and we'll get you out to Antelope Camp. I promise.
I hope so, man. I'd love to come out and hang out with you guys.
It's a good time. Well, thanks for your time, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you, guys. All right, give them a check out, KORTechnik.com. Give them a look. Gun Talk Hunters, I'm off. I'm going to be out for a while. I'll have some podcast up, but you know the drill. Each and every week, each and every day, every hour, every second of the day, keep those muzzles pointed in a safe direction, and always be on the hunt.